At 2 a.m. on June 4, 2022, a trembling voice cut through the silence of a Gilbert, Arizona dispatcher's headset. "I was shot by someone I don't know." On the other end of that call was 19-year-old Rachel Hansen, lying in her bed inside her apartment at Redstone at Santan Village, near Santan Village Parkway and Ray Road. She had been asleep on her back when a single bullet entered her lower left abdomen and exited through her upper right shoulder. No screaming neighbors, no forced entry alarm, no shattered glass. Just one shot in the dark, and then silence. Officers from the Gilbert Police Department arrived to a scene that made no sense. Nothing was stolen, no ransacking, no obvious motive. Paramedics rushed Rachel to Chandler Regional Medical Center, where surgeons fought to save her life. She died during surgery, 8 days before her 20th birthday. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. It wasn't random chaos. It was precise, intentional. Someone entered her apartment after midnight, fired once, and disappeared into the Arizona night without waking a single neighbor. And nearly 3 years later, the question still hangs over Gilbert like desert heat. Who walked into that bedroom, and why?
To understand this case, you have to understand who Rachel was. Adopted at age 6 by Kim and Todd Hansen, she grew up on a ranch in Gilbert, surrounded by horses, open land, and a family that eventually adopted 13 children. Horses weren't just a hobby. They were her therapy, her purpose, her identity. By 14, she was giving riding lessons. By 16, she graduated high school early. By 19, she was building her own horse training business while earning a real estate license to specialize in selling equestrian properties. She rescued wild mustangs, fostered puppies, raised money for causes before she was even a teenager. Friends described her as fearless, someone who would ride an unbroken yearling with nothing but instinct and determination. She was engaged to Jomette Bailey and planning a wedding for fall 2022. Days before her death, she had been grieving deeply over the Uvalde school shooting, unable to understand how innocent lives could be taken so senselessly. What makes Rachel's murder even harder to grasp is that those closest to her insist she had no enemies, no drug use, no criminal history, no reckless lifestyle. She had just moved back into her subleased apartment at Redstone on June 1, 2022. 2 days later, she was dead. For someone so driven and compassionate, the idea that she was targeted feels both impossible and terrifying.
The mystery deepens 2 days before the murder. On June 2nd, Rachel told her fiancé she woke up in the middle of the night to someone opening her bedroom door. The person left before she could fully react. When she checked the apartment, she found something chillingly strange sitting on her kitchen counter. A jar of pickles she didn't buy. No theft, no vandalism, just a silent intrusion and an object that didn't belong. Police later documented that previous tenants had allegedly sold drugs from that same apartment and had complaints filed against them. The unit reportedly smelled strongly of marijuana when Rachel moved back in. Was this a case of mistaken identity? Did someone think the former occupant still lived there? Or was the intruder testing access, confirming entry points, learning her routine, planning something? There's also uncertainty about how the shooter entered on June 4. Was the main door unlocked? Did someone have a key? Her bedroom door had been shut because she was fostering 2 puppies, yet someone made it inside, walked into her room, and fired one controlled shot. No neighbors reported hearing the gunfire. Apartments above, below, and beside hers heard nothing. That silence is one of the most unsettling aspects of the case. In a densely populated complex, how does a gunshot go unnoticed? Was a suppressor used, or was timing calculated down to the minute?
Newly released, heavily redacted police documents, over 300 pages, revealed something the public hadn't known at first. In April 2022, Rachel contacted police alleging that her fiancé's father had threatened her. The report states she claimed he threatened to kill her weeks before her death. When asked publicly whether he was investigated, Gilbert police officials would neither confirm nor deny. Detectives interviewed dozens of individuals, including inmates in Yuma and people in custody with the Arizona Department of Corrections. DNA evidence was submitted for testing, but yielded no hits. Leads were followed, then exhausted. In February 2024, internal documentation labeled the case inactive suspended, lack of leads, though officials insist it remains active. Was this a personal dispute that escalated, or a coincidence that seems suspicious only in hindsight? Rachel's fiancé reportedly spent the evening with her on June 3rd and left around midnight. 2 hours later, she was shot. Police have not publicly named a suspect, but Rachel's mother has stated firmly, this was not random. If it wasn't random, then someone knew her schedule, someone knew she was home, someone knew how to get inside, and someone walked away believing they would never be caught.
The release of body camera footage and 911 transcripts raised more questions than answers. Much of the footage is blurred, audio is redacted, key interview details are blacked out. Gilbert police say redactions protect the integrity of the case. Rachel's family says the waiting is unbearable. Detectives reportedly chased multiple rabbit holes, submitting evidence, interviewing neighbors, examining digital records. Silent Witness offers a $10,000 reward for information leading to an arrest, yet tips have slowed. Officials admit the case depends on new information coming forward. The most chilling detail remains this: nothing was stolen. No robbery, no struggle reported. A single shot, deliberate and controlled. That suggests purpose. Whether personal revenge, mistaken target, or something more complex, this was not chaotic violence. It was execution-style precision. And in a community known for safety, that reality shook residents deeply. Gilbert isn't supposed to be a place where 19-year-olds are shot in their sleep. Yet here we are, years later, with no arrest and no public suspect.
Rachel was killed 8 days before her 20th birthday. She was planning to celebrate at Canyon Lake with tubing and cliff jumping, her favorite escape. Instead, her family buried her and created Rachel's Rescue, a nonprofit animal rescue in her honor. Her quarter horse Dash later gave birth. Life continued on Hansen Ranch, but without her. Her mother still meets with detectives, still pleads publicly, still believes someone knows the truth. And that's the haunting part of this case. Someone out there remembers that night. Someone knows why the door opened, why a jar of pickles was left behind, why a single bullet was fired. Rachel's final words were clear. I was shot by someone I don't know. Whether that was true, or whether fear clouded recognition, remains unanswered. Nearly 3 years later, Gilbert police continue to classify the case as active. But time doesn't just pass. It erodes memories, weakens witnesses, and buries secrets deeper. The question now isn't just who killed Rachel Hansen. It's whether the silence protecting that person will ever finally break.